Today I'll be continuing on my race car kick. It's going to be a lot of fun, so don't go away. Hey gang, and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And yes, indeed, we are going to continue on our journey with race cars. It's going to be a lot of fun, so let's get right to it. Today I'll be doing a resto mod on the Hot Wheels Redline Chaparral. Mattel released the Chaparral in 1969 as part of the new Grand Prix series. The real Chaparral 2G, after which this was modeled, was the creation of designer, builder, and driver Jim Hall. Hall was the mind behind the innovative in-car adjustable rear wing. The integrated spoiler wing was designed to lie flat for low drag on the straights and tip up under braking through the corners. The Hot Wheel version of the Chaparral 2G featured the plastic spoiler that was mounted on the rear hatch that opened to show a detailed engine. A sticker sheet with Jim Hall's signature 66 racing number was included in the blister pack. The Chaparral was produced in various Spectra Flame colors, but today I'll be going with a white finish to replicate Hall's car. This was also a color available from Mattel, which is kind of an oddity at the time, especially since they were really pushing their cars with wild Spectra Flame colors. Chaparrals were made in both the US and Hong Kong plants. This car was in great shape, and I wouldn't have picked it for this project if it weren't for one giant spot of corrosion on the left side of the car. I begin as always by taking the car apart. This car is a perfect candidate for shielded drilling, as it has a very small mushroom post and a tiny dimple around it to hold the Vix Bit in place.
And we still have like 6 rolls downstairs and 2 in ours.
Okay. After getting the car apart, it's time for the body to take a run through the warm liquid goo phase. So far I have been using the citrus strip as goo since they pulled the good stripper off the shelves, and honestly, I've been having pretty good luck with it. Once out of the goo, I'll run the car to the sink to wash it off and scrub it down, getting rid of the excess goo and any last little bits of the paint.
Fishy, 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 fish.
Now I can finally get a good look at just how bad this body is, and I can develop a plan of action. Sadly, I'm about to make a fatal decision here, and it's going to end up making me paint this car twice. I examined the damage from the corrosion, and I decided I could get away with just a light sanding, as I felt the primer and the thicker tamiya paint I planned to use, along with the clear coat, should be able to help smooth things out. I was wrong. After some inspection, I hit the body up with my brass bristle brush, and then I took the rotary tool with a wire wheel and ran it over the corrosion on the left side, and I actually thought it came out well enough, and so I pushed forward with my initial plan. Again, this was going to be a giant mistake. After the first paint job, I felt the left side still looked like hell, so I made the painful decision to drop it back in the stripper and to kick myself in the ass for being so stupid. I won't bore you with two paint jobs, but both were done in the exact same manner. First, I applied a coat of Tamiya Fine Primer. After that was allowed to dry, I followed it up with Tamiya X2 Glossy White paint. The white was thinned with some Tamiya X20 thinner and several drops of leveling thinner to ensure a smooth finish that would take the decals well. On a side note, I do plan on doing an entire video on airbrushing, but I just recently found out that something I've been waiting for has been delayed, and so it's going to have to be put on the back burner, at least for a short while. Tamiya makes their primers in several different colors. In this case, I used the gray primer, knowing that I was going to be painting the car white. This makes it easier for me to see where the paint is and isn't. After paint, I set the body aside to dry and turned my attention to the internet and Adobe Illustrator to create decals for the car. I would be going with Hall's famous number 66, so I started art based on that. I struggled to get clear shots of his sponsor stickers and could only make out a few of them, so I replicated those and would apply them in less than a 100% accurate but eye-pleasing arrangement. I printed my decals on my new Alps printer, and yes, I'm going to be doing an entire video on making decals, so keep an eye out for that. But once printed, I can go ahead and cut the decals apart and put them on the car. After cutting the decals apart, I'll give them a quick dip in some water and let them soften and release from the backing paper. Then I can put a little dab of water on the body and slide the decal on. I've done a lot of decaling, and I can honestly say one of the best tools I have for decaling is a toothpick. Nothing seems to work better for sliding your decal into its final position than a good old trusty wooden toothpick. The decal on the hood, it goes over a little bit of a ridge, and so it was important to use a little bit of decal setting solution. For that, I turned to Walther's Solvaset. This is a fairly hot product and will soften your decal very, very nicely. While the decals dried, I turned my attention to the base. The base had some tarnish, and I failed to deal with it the last time I was electropolishing. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to try out Paul Bechtel's method of cleaning bases. I dropped the base in a bath of 50% lime away and 50% water for about 3 minutes, and honestly, I was thrilled by how well it worked. I had just mixed up this lime away solution, and that's why I have so many bubbles on the top. So I'm just using my little brass bristle brush to kind of scooch them out of the way so I can watch the progress of the base. You can actually see the lime away cleaning the base, and that can make it easy for you to keep track of how long to keep it in. If you keep it in too long, it's going to go past clean and into black. After the bath, I brushed and polished the base till it gleamed like chrome, and then I protected it with a coat of Renaissance wax. Ren wax is a protective wax coating used by museums to protect medals and coins and jewelry and such, so it should work great here. I'll leave a link for Ren wax down below. Through all this work on the base, you can see wheels still on. That's because I believe I can use them to help protect the hubs. After all, I know I'm going to cut them off in the end and replace them with brand new wheels, so by leaving them on, they can protect the hub from different kinds of chemicals or brushes or any other process that I'm going to do and keep my hubs nice and pristine. With the decals fully dry, it's time to seal everything up with a great coat of clear from Brightvision. The clear gives you such a great gloss, but it really takes the finish past a realistic look like you might find in an original Redline. But it is a look that I love, so I use it an awful lot. I've told you all before, when applying your clear coat, you should make sure that the lighting is just right so that you can see the clear laying down on the body. Well, when you're putting clear over a white car, it's really difficult to see. But you still need to try to work for it so that you can lay down a perfect, beautifully smooth coat. I've been on a string of forgetfulness and have been failing to drill out the posts before painting the bodies. While it can certainly be done this way, it sure isn't worth the risk. Too many things can go wrong. So, do as I say, not as I do, and drill your posts before painting. In my earlier videos, you saw that I wasn't much for tapping out the posts after drilling. Ever since I found this little tap handle from Brightvision, though, it is a regular part of my builds. I really think it is the way to go. I think part of the reason I like the tap handle so much is because of my big fat fingers. It just makes it easier for me to hold the handle and to work it and not have to worry every second that I'm going to drop it or screw up the tap. With the holes finally drilled and tapped, I can go ahead and run a screw in to make sure everything is going to seat nicely, and then I can go ahead and move on. Now I can turn my attention to some new wheels. These race cars had super monstrous tires in the back, so I thought, hey, how about trying the large Redlines in the rear? But they just seemed a bit too big to fit properly, so I was really left with no option to put medium Redlines all around. Now, I don't generally care about what is right and proper, and I love the look of the chrome deep dish wheels, so I use them in almost all of my Redline restorations and customs. So, sue me. When putting the new wheels on the base, I push them on very gently and only part of the way. After I've got them all on, I will back them up with my wheel alignment tool from the Redline Shop, and then I'll push the wheel on the rest of the way. By using the tool behind the wheel, it's going to help me keep from messing up my axle and bearing, and also it's going to equally seat each wheel. And since I already have the alignment tool in my hands, now is as good a time as any to go ahead and straighten out all my wheels. Now it's time for some detail painting. I'll be using some Tamiya black to paint in some of the vents and some chrome silver for the exhaust pipes in the rear. By thinning the paint down just a bit with some water, I can get a smoother finish without brush marks. I noted in photos that Hall's car had the edges of the wing painted red, so a little tamiya gloss red will do the job for me. I'm really happy with the way this car is looking, so after buttoning it up with some 172 button head screws, it's time to take a look and see what we have. Well, here it is in all its glory. I hope you love it as much as I do. Well, there you have it, the Chaparral. I tell you what, I had so much fun with this build. It was just really like stepping into history as I did this car. I really loved the way it came out. I love the glossy white finish. It was just a fun car, and it's going to be beautiful in my collection. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, click the little bell, and you'll be notified anytime I release a new video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I really do read everything you guys post, including some of the hurtful stuff. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Until next time, this is Paul wishing you an amazing day of success and innovation and high-speed action. Until next time. Be good.